Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be answering more of your questions in a segment of Ask Judy. If you enjoy these segments, please do hit like and subscribe. It's very helpful too. If you'd like to know when I'm going to be posting, hit that notification bell. Just to let you know before I get into questions is watch out for fraud videos. There are any number of them. I get asked questions. People ask me if Richard Thomas is okay because they saw some posting that he was in a horrible accident or a fatal accident. He was not. He is fine. And there's also some video thumbnails that show him missing a limb or David Harper weighing 400 pounds. And these are not accurate videos. These are somebody trying to get you to click on them. They're clickbait. They want you to click on it, and then whatever that video is will turn out to not be what the thumbnail implies, and even if it's implying it's some false story. So these are just ways that people are trying to suck you in and trying to make money by scamming. So really irritating, but just beware, and you're welcome to reach out to any of us on our actual social media sites to confirm whether or not things you see are accurate. There are also obviously people trying to create false accounts pretending to be us. And just to let you know, Richard Thomas is not on any social media. So anything you see that might imply to be him is not him. It might be somebody doing a tribute and might be all perfectly fine, but it could also be someone trying to pretend to be him. Again, for their own gain sometimes, and sometimes just because they are really fond of someone and want to pay tribute. So totally fine, but just beware. Cami posted something very good and accurate and informational on her Facebook page where she said, "Please be cautious about scam Facebook accounts. Several followers have notified me about the fake accounts, and I've also received messages asking if I've friended people or whether it's likely that John Walmsley is emailing fans from his personal account. I haven't. He doesn't. So yeah, it doesn't happen. Things to look out for, including misspellings. For example, Coulter, Colter, is not my last name. Accounts missing a blue check. Pages with very few followers. Know that cast members of the Waltons are not going to send you their personal email address or ask you for money or to date them or whatever the fraudsters have up their sleeves. I've reported the fake accounts and I encourage you to do the same. Please be careful and never share personally identifying info on social media, home address, phone number, ID cards, etc. So we just want to keep all of you safe and not have you taken advantage of in our names. I believe most of us on Facebook have verified blue checks on our Facebook accounts. I do. I do have a second account. So I have my Judy Norton one where I'm Mary Ellen with the straw hat, the same one I use here on my YouTube channel. So that is me. If I respond on my YouTube channel, I would say it's pretty certain that it is actually me because I do read those comments and I do reply to those comments. And if people are hateful, they get blocked. So if people are just looking to be mean and spiteful, I'm sorry, you don't get to play on my page. We are here to be supportive and encouraging and inclusive, and that's what my page is about. So if you don't care for my content, that's perfectly fine. You do not need to watch it, but you are not invited to be mean and nasty to other fans or to members of the cast. So just a heads up on that. In terms of Facebook, my page that's Judy Norton is me. I do not have a lot of time to get on there and answer messages there. I do try to, but sometimes it might be weeks, months in between. I am not personally ignoring you. I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of messages and comments and things that I am looking to deal with to do my best to keep you all updated and informed and interact to the extent that my time allows. Cami Kotler interacts a lot on her Facebook page. Mary McDonough has a public fan page, as does John Walmsley and Eric Scott, and I know they do manage those personally themselves. Michael Learned does have a Facebook page. As I said, Richard Thomas does not. In terms of other media, I do have a Twitter account. It's not a blue verified checkbox. Again, me with the straw hat. I do post, mostly what I post is the links to these YouTube segments. So if you see that page, it's mine. Same thing with Instagram. I just simply have not been on Instagram. Don't interact often enough for me to have a significant presence, so they have not verified my account. But it has personal things as well. You'll see photos of me with my horse or, from trips I've done. So again, as Cammie said, beware of people pretending to be actual cast members, and don't ever give your personal information to somebody, even me. If you're ordering something from me, it'll typically be through my website. And so that information does come directly to my business, and it is going to be handled accurately, and you will have recourse if something happens there and you order something that you don't get. Refunds are in place because it all goes through PayPal and that. So sorry to take up a lot of time on this, but I feel like it's important to keep all of you protected. Okay, now that the business and housekeeping is out of the way, on to the fun stuff. This is from Taylor Dunn, who said, if you could, would you guys do another reunion film? I think we would, if we liked the script, if we felt that it was good quality and it was in keeping with the style and the quality of the show. What people don't necessarily know or understand is that we as a cast, it's not our call. If we want to do it, it doesn't happen. So it's not enough for us to know. So when people say, oh, why don't you guys should get together and do this? We are dependent upon, first of all, the rights, and who has the rights and who licenses the show, because it is licensed. There are trademarks, there are copyrights, all whatever it falls under. We don't own that, so it is not up to us. We don't have free use of creating a Waltons show if we wanted to. We can be ourselves and do interviews and things like this, but I couldn't just decide that I'm going to get the cast together and we're all going to be our characters from the Waltons, because the owners of the copyrights would sue us. So not only do we need that approval on the rights, which is not simple, but then if you make something, first of all, it has to be funded, and then also it needs to go someplace. So some network, some streaming platform, somebody needs to give it a green light to say, if it were done, it would be shown. So we could pull the money together, get the rights, and it could sit there and never be seen. So there's just a lot of elements that we as the cast do not have the power or authority over. So it isn't that we are ignoring the fact that you would love it. We would too. And I think, if you get after Warner Brothers, I believe, has the power to push through those sorts of rights, but they were involved in the reboot of the Homecoming that was done. They did that under their umbrella, through CW, and I know there have been mixed feelings about that, with it not being the actual original cast. So I think based on all of that, it's not a real strong likelihood that another reunion with the original cast will be done, and we are as disappointed as you are, but that's kind of where it is on that. A question here from one of the just user numbers. Good day, Judy. Another fine interview. Peter was a delight. My interview with Peter Fox added a charming element to the Waltons. I have a question for you. At times you mentioned the casting department during various conversations. Could you please explain what does a casting department do? I think they actually hire actors for various roles, maybe go through a picture file looking for the right image to book for a particular role. So what happens with the casting department is actors all have like headshots and resumes and demo reels and things like that. And typically we have agents, and there are different casting sites where you put up your information. And when a role is posted, so say Reverend Hank Buchanan, then the casting department will put out basically a casting call. So that information will go out to all of the agents, and they pay a fee to get those casting breakdowns of what's casting. So they'll go through and see what are the things, what are the new roles that came out today or whatever day the breakdowns come out. They will look through their client list and they will say, oh, Reverend Hank Buchanan, that sounds perfect for Peter Fox. So they will then submit Peter to be considered for that role. And that submission goes to the casting department. So in our case, the casting department, Warner Brothers, who was Pam Palafroni and Doris Saba. And so then when those come in, somebody, whether it's Pam Palafroni or Doris or one of the casting assistants, maybe somebody does an initial screening. I'm not sure who does, how that works. I think it depends on the casting agent. And they go through these submissions, and based on the person's headshot and maybe their resume, if they don't think they look even remotely right, they may not even look at the resume. So they'll go through and they will handpick a number of people that they are going to bring in for an audition, or in today's market, who they're going to put on, ask to do a videotape, self-tape audition. Then they will send out an audition scene, what we call sides. They will make those available. The actor will get that. They will prepare their audition. And in today's marketplace, they will put themselves typically on a self-tape doing that scene that then gets submitted for the casting department to look at. In the days of the Waltons, you would be given the scene to prepare. You would have an audition time booked. You would show up at the studio. Sometimes the casting director would do a pre-screening. This is what I would often find, is that I'd go in and I'd initially read for the casting director, and then the casting director would narrow it down to 4 or 5 people, and they would have another casting session with the producers. Sometimes they skip that first thing and they just bring in, when I was in Canada, it might be 5 or 6 people for a role. That's it. They narrowed it down to that. People that the casting director knew, trusted to do a good job, knew were right for that role, and they would bring you in, and you might have the director, the producer, you might have several people in the room with the casting director. So that might happen as well sometimes. Then sometimes there might be, depending on how many people they originally saw, how quickly the casting process is going to go. From the stuff I did in Canada, I'd go in, there'd be a handful of us, 5 to 10 people, and I'd just then get a call saying, hey, you're getting booked. They want to hire you. Sometimes if there was longer lead time, it was a bigger, more important project, or more important from a standpoint that they had a longer time to do the casting process. In television, it happens fast. So they can't do multiple, they're just not casting far enough advance. So it's got to go pretty quickly. With, a big film or something, they might bring you in, you might have an initial one, then they might have a callback where you come back and there's fewer of you and you read again, and maybe you read a different scene or additional scenes, or maybe it's the exact same thing. And then occasionally you'll be in a situation where they'll bring you in and they'll have you read with another actor who's maybe already cast, or they're looking to put people together and see how certain dynamics work, if it's going to be a couple, a relationship. That didn't happen as often. So that's an overview of the casting department. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Ask Judy. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more of your questions in another Ask Judy. If you're enjoying this, please do hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.